Morning, and thank you for joining the Zoom2u Technologies fourth quarter results and business update webinar. My name is Mike Rokenbaum and I'm an independent non-executive director of Zoom2u Technologies Limited. Today I'm joined by the CEO and founder of Zoom2u, Steve Orenstein, and the CFO, Michael Gayst, who will be presenting the results for the quarter and providing an update on trading following the lodgement of the results at the ASX this morning. Following the presentation, we have allocated time for a Q&A session. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A function located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I'll now hand over to Steve to take you through today's presentation.
Thank you, Mike, and thanks for joining and hosting today's webinar. And good morning, everyone, and great to be here and great to walk you through our Q4 results and walk you through that in great detail. Joined with myself and Michael Gayst, our CFO. I'll just now share my screen. I'll present that. So just to give you a quick highlights on the quarter, GMV $3 million, up 37% from the prior corresponding period. Revenue of $0.9 million, and total GMV for the entire year was $17.5 million. It's up 57% on the prior corresponding period. Revenue to date for the financial year was 4.6, up 63%. So what was really great in this quarter is that we managed to secure Bunnings Warehouse as a Zoom2u customer. What this allows us to do is to provide Bunnings with same-day delivery and next-day delivery from their network of stores across Australia. So great to see such a significant customer joining. What we've been working with them for a number of months, and we're still going through that phase of actually rolling out Bunnings, and so in this quarter we didn't necessarily see the revenue from Bunnings, but we expect to see further revenue from Bunnings in the coming quarters ahead. We also signed Decathlon as a Zoom2u customer, and there's a number of trials with a number of other major customers on the Zoom2u and also Locate2u side of things. Locate2u is, I'm pleased to announce, is progressing really well, and in this update we're happy to share some more details in and around the revenue that we're receiving from Locate2u for the first time. So it's great to be able to share those details, and great to see that we've continued to add a number of new customers, over 100 new customers in this quarter. You can see a list of those customers. Those customers included many large businesses, but also a number of really small businesses, and really spread across the world, whether it's in Australia or also throughout the US and in the UK. For the first time ever, we've completed our first global workforce survey. The business now has across the group about 100 team members, including a mixture of employees and contractors, and it was great to be able to get their feedback on what it's like to work inside the business, and particularly in the environment that we're in, where it's really important to retain that workforce. We also in this quarter we released a number of updates to the Locate2u product, and I'll walk you through what those updates were in more detail shortly. We also continued to sort of look at different advertising and marketing opportunities in both the Zoom2u and Locate2u business. We'll show you some van advertising that's been running on the Zoom2u side. And as a business and as management and the board, we're very aware of the current market conditions, and we've very much focused our efforts on shifting our business towards profitability, and we'll be working towards that over the coming year. What we see is, as the market's changed, there's a possibility of a recession coming. We see we're in a very good position. Businesses will need to start looking at making sure that they're operating as efficiently as possible, and also looking at how they can actually differentiate themselves to competitors in the market. Locate2u is really well positioned in our software will allow businesses to earn more revenue. It'll allow them to efficiently optimize the routes of their drivers, saving them money, and this is going to be a really key selling point for our sales team as we go through in the months ahead. Also on the Zoom2u side of things, what's also going to be really important is that businesses will need to be able to offer products to their customers faster, being able to show and differentiate to their competitors. And so we feel like we're in a great position to assist businesses during this period. I'll now hand over to Michael Gayst, our CFO, who will walk you through the numbers.
Steve. On this page, you can see the growth that Steve mentioned briefly earlier in graphical form. In Q4, our GMV was up 37%, and for the year, we increased our GMV by nearly $6.5 million relative to the prior year. In terms of group revenue, we grew revenue by 87% for the quarter, which is stronger than the growth in GMV for the quarter, and that's a result of the strong growth we've achieved in locate to year. And in terms of revenue for the entire year, we increased our revenue by 63% from 4.6 million from 2.8 million in the prior corresponding year. This graph shows how strongly Locate2u has grown over the course of the 2022 financial year. We started building our sales team towards the end of Q1, FY21. And since then, we've built the team to be 17 sales reps in Australia, the US, UK, and India. And those teams are going really well. Just for example, until recently, we only had one rep in the US. We've already got 30 customers using the product in the US, which is very encouraging. In terms of the revenue growth we've experienced, you can see that Q4 revenue was around 270% higher than the revenue we achieved just a couple of quarters ago in Q1. And it's around 15 times the revenue we achieved in the prior corresponding quarter. And a reasonable component of that revenue is recurring subscription revenue, which is typical of a SaaS business. The strong growth that we've recently achieved in Locate2u and the performance of the sales team really gives us confidence in the product's future. So we're very excited about that. In terms of cash flow, you should be aware that Q4 is one of the typically weaker quarters in terms of cash flow. We've mentioned previously that the second half of the calendar year is generally the stronger one for Zoom2u leading into the holiday season. So Q4, please note, is probably our weakest quarter in terms of receipts. In terms of payments for OPEX, it's comparable to what we spent in Q3. Most, but not all, but most of our hiring is complete for now. In terms of our net cash used in operating activities of 1.2 million negative, that really reflects the low level of cash receipts. In terms of cash flow from investing activities, 257,000, most of that relates to software development costs that we've capitalized. So in summary, with cash, we started at about $5.8 million of cash. We used 1.2 million in our operating activities and around 250,000 in investing activities to leave us with cash at June 22 of $4.3 million. Steve mentioned the workforce survey that we did earlier, a few months ago, actually in June. That's when we conducted our first ever global workforce survey. So we asked staff for feedback on what they thought about Zoom2u as an employer. We also wanted to get feedback on specific questions relating to engagement, diversity, and inclusion. So we achieved a very strong employee net promoter score, 77. This indicates how likely a person is to recommend Zoom2u as a great place to work. And this ENPS, as it's called, it's a score calculated by arriving at the percentage of the company's staff who are promoters, less those who are detractors. So the 77 score we achieved is a very positive indicator. It compares very well, for example, to an average of plus 29, which was for a group of technology companies listed at the bottom of the slide there. But generally, a score between 10 to 30 is considered good, while anything near 50 is excellent. So 77 is really, really, really top in that sort of score. On questions regarding engagement, diversity, inclusions, we rated greater than 90% on each of those questions, which is also very encouraging. But the survey also asked staff how they believe culture could be improved, and responses came in three themes: employee engagement, organisational communication, and manager interaction. So we're going to take that feedback on board, and we're going to work towards improving our employee experience in these areas. And as Steve mentioned, it's a very competitive market for staff at the moment. So having a highly engaged and culturally aligned workforce is a huge advantage in terms of retaining staff and attracting new staff to our business. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Michael. For those that are new investors who have joined recently, just to touch on our two core businesses. First, you have Zoom2u, which is our more established business that's been around since 2014. And essentially, Zoom2u is a marketplace that connects customers to drivers for a fast same-day delivery. And we use a lot of technology inside of this business, allowing customers to see the live location of their drivers arriving. We've got a large customer base made up of lots of consumers, small businesses, and some really large corporates like Bunnings and Nespresso, and Bunnings being a new customer in this quarter. Locate2u is a technology platform, and this is designed for businesses that are managing their own fleet of their own drivers. This product is a new product. It's been around for the last couple of years, and really up until September last year is when we kicked off actually selling the product. We spent a lot of money, we've invested a lot of money in building the technology platform, and we've taken a lot of concepts and ideas that we've learned through the building of Zoom2u to build Locate2u into a really robust product that we're now able to sell to a global market. The great thing with Locate2u is it's a monthly reoccurring subscription, so it's a SaaS product, it's very high margin, and the ability to sell to that global market. What it allows companies to do is it allows them to be able to manage their fleet of their drivers in terms of optimizing their routes. So their routes are really efficient. And so what this means is if a driver's got 50 bookings to do in a particular day, it can automatically work out what is the most efficient way to actually deliver those particular parcels. And this is useful for whether you're a delivery business, but also whether you're a service business. There's a lot more functionality on Locate2u that I'll touch on later in today's presentation. Given the two core businesses, we've got a very large opportunity in terms of markets across the world. There's a $20 billion addressable market, $6 billion of that being in the Zoom2u market in Australia, and the rest of that being in Locate2u from a global point of view. From Locate2u, we see there's three key markets. Firstly, there's the delivery management side of things for delivery businesses. Secondly, you've got the GPS market, which is the tracking of vehicles and being able to do that at a global scale. And then finally, you've got the field service market. And this is a newer market that we're sort of seeing that we're getting some traction in. And as we build out more functionality in the product, we'll see that we'll have a greater fit into this area. And I'll touch on that functionality shortly. So from Zoom2u, we're a marketplace connecting customers to drivers. A lot of this is around same-day delivery, and a lot of the success that we've seen historically is around being able to allow customers to see the live location of their driver arriving. We operate, there's a network of cars, bikes, vans, and even trucks to deliver anything from a small parcel right through to a full truckload. And so connecting customers to those drivers in those different types of vehicles has been key to the success of what we've been able to offer. This business is very established. There's over 12,000 drivers on the platform. Millions of deliveries have been completed and a substantial customer base. And we're seeing lots of activity in this area, particularly around some of these larger corporates that are looking to be able to speed up the deliveries that are occurring inside of their business. One thing we were able to do this quarter is that we were able to offset the carbon emissions from drivers that are driving on the platform. And this is a great step in helping become a carbon neutral business. So we're very proud to be able to do this. Because we know the exact kilometres that drivers are travelling through the platform, we can then measure the actual impact they're having and be able to then offset those carbon emissions. And so it's great that we've been able to achieve this, and very proud of the team, the work that they've done on this. What we've also been able to do in this quarter is that we're continuing to build our brand. Some of you in Sydney may have seen the vans that may be operating. These are not vans that our drivers are driving. These are vans that are actually running on a network where people are actually renting out these vans, and we were essentially buying the advertising space on the vans at a really cost-effective rate. One of the things that we really wanted to do is just to increase the brand awareness of when people are out in the road and they're seeing Zoom2u, and we're already starting to see feedback from people that have definitely seen these vans across Sydney. We'll experiment to see how this goes over the coming months. If this makes sense and we're seeing some return on this, we'll start to then look at doing this in other states throughout the country. The other thing we've done is we've experimented with a little bit of outdoor advertising, some billboards, but very niche in terms of what we're doing. And a lot of this has been used to be able to take the images that we're doing in an offline environment and bring that into an online environment and seeing this shared through our social media activities as well. So not spending large amounts of money in deploying these types of initiatives, but being really conservative around the cash that we're spending, but still having a significant impact in brand awareness. In terms of our target customers, where we're very focused on today is we're very focused around retail businesses that have a retail footprint and enabling those larger businesses to be able to get product to their customers fast. Retail businesses have a real advantage over an e-commerce store in that their retail store is very close to their consumer, allowing them to do a delivery in hours rather than days. And that's our key focus, and with the engagement that we're having with these large retail groups is really sort of allowing them to get to those customers faster by leveraging their retail footprint. So moving on to Locate2u. So Locate2u, as I mentioned earlier, is designed for companies that are managing their own fleet of their own drivers. Amart Furniture is one of our larger customers on this product. Bingley's another one of those customers. They each have their own fleet of their own drivers delivering product to their customers, and they needed the ability to efficiently optimize the routes for their drivers. And so if you're a large business and you have 100 deliveries to do in a particular day, or even 1,000 or 10,000, figuring out which driver to do which deliveries is a challenging job if you're doing that manually. Using Locate2u, you can pull that data into the system. It will optimize the routes of each of those drivers and give it to them in the most efficient way. What this then allows you to do is it allows you to then send a live tracking link to the customer. So the days of a customer never knowing when that delivery is actually occurring is changed with Locate2u. So instead of telling the customer that your driver will be there in the AM or PM or not at all, you can have an SMS or an email going to the customer letting them know that here's when your driver's arriving and here's a tracking link so you can see the live location of that particular driver. So it's very powerful in terms of being able to provide a great customer experience. The system has a whole heap of additional functionality, and we keep building out that functionality to really, as we're listening to the feedback that we're getting from different types of customers and making that product very scalable. In this quarter, we added over 100 new customers, and for the first time, we've hired our first senior digital marketing to really focus on building inbound lead inquiries into Locate2u, and doing that from an organic and really cost-effective way of doing that. It's very easy to go and spend money on AdWords and Facebook ads and spending large amounts of money, but what we want to do is do that in an efficient way. We've been able to do that very successfully in Zoom2u, and every month we see inquiries that are coming through and new customers signing up onto the Zoom2u platform, and we want to replicate that into Locate2u, but doing that from a global point of view. And so right now our key focus is really building that inbound lead volume and doing that globally in Australia, the US and the UK, and also in India where our sales team is located. Just to give you a sense of the types of updates we've been working on, and the development team has been working exceptionally hard. In this quarter we released 23 updates. Those updates, sometimes small updates, sometimes larger updates. There was three sort of main key features that we released in this quarter. Email notifications, so customers can receive those emails of the live tracking link. Geofencing, so allowing customers to actually draw onto a map and say, this is where, if drivers go in and out of these areas, I want to know about it. And that's a really important feature for our GPS tracking customers. And there's more things that we're adding in that area as well. And also the ability for being able to record driver payments, and so being able to know if a driver's done X number of deliveries, this is a report that can be generated so they can actually pay those drivers. There's significantly more investment that we're making into, or features that we're building into the product, and we see that there's a big opportunity to continue building in that product, and that will, each time we're doing that, each time we're making these new releases, allows us to win more customers. Coming up over the next months ahead and quarters ahead, we've got a vehicle servicing module, so we'll allow businesses that are running their own fleet to record the information around when those vehicles need to be serviced, capturing the number of kilometres travelled, alerts around when registration's due, those types of things. enabling customers to be able to generate invoices on a particular booking, and also collecting payments. And this will really take Locate2u into the next level in not just being available for delivery businesses, but then also going into the service businesses. And so thinking about, a plumber or any sort of service provider, cleaners, any of those types of businesses where they're turning up to a customer's location, they'll be able to let the customer know that they're actually arriving through a live tracking link. And once they're there on site, being able to collect payment for completion of the service that was provided and generate an invoice. There's a lot of work that the development team has been doing, and we're making some really great progress on the product side of things. So just to give you a sense, we've grown a lot in Locate2u over the past year. And this just gives you a sense of the scale of admin users across the world. It's not even showing the drivers, and we'll report on that in the future. But this gives you a sense of where people are logging into the product across the world, and where each of those dots are is where a user's actually logged in. And so you can see we're getting a number of customers in the US, but also in Australia, and then also throughout the UK. And so, we see Locate2u as a global product, can be sold across the world. And really, in my mind, this is yes, we're going to continue in building on the product, but right now it's really focused on marketing and sales to get the adoption of the product across the globe, and which will result in revenue growth. One of the things that we also worked on throughout this quarter is the distribution of the GPS devices that we sell. So if certain customers may want to use a GPS unit to actually track their vehicles. They don't have to. They can be tracking off their mobile phone, but they can track off a hardware device. This device is installed into their vehicle, and either as a plug and play unit through the OBD port, or as something that can actually be physically hardwired into the vehicle and using an auto electrician to do that. These devices have a SIM card in them. We sell them globally. And so what we've been able to do is we're setting up distribution locations in each of the different countries where we've got larger numbers of customers. And this will allow for efficiency in getting product to customers quicker. The faster we get these devices to them, the faster they get them installed and they start using the product. And making sure the adoption of that product is really, really important. And so that brings me to the second point that we've done this quarter, is that we've now set up an onboarding and support team in South Africa. It's a really cost-effective location, but also in the right time zones, particularly to support our US customer base. So this allows us to now get into a 24 by 5 days a week support. And so when customers do have a question, they can get those questions answered very, very quickly. But also it allows us to do one-on-one onboarding with customers across the world. And so when we're dealing with the types of businesses that we're working with, there could be logistics businesses, they could be service businesses. We want to make sure that they're using the product and they've got adoption to the product. And the way we do that is through our onboarding process, in walking them through in a one-on-one environment to actually make sure that they understand how best to use the product and how best the product can be customized to suit their particular business requirements. And it's great now that we've got this set up, and this is very scalable because it's very cost effective in the two markets that we're running those support agents in, both in South Africa but also in our Philippines office as well. So that brings me to the conclusion of today's presentation, and I'm happy to walk through any questions that might have come through.
Thanks, Steve and Michael. We'll now move to the Q&A part of the session. We've got a number of questions here. Just a reminder to the audience, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So the first question is, well done on the strong Locate2u customer additions in the fourth quarter. Can you give an indication to how many total customers are now using the platform?
Yeah, so approximately around 400 customers using the platform.
How does the quality or number of enterprise customers in the trial process and pipeline compare to what you've seen in previous quarters?
Yeah, so I presume that question sort of relating to, are we seeing any slowdown with what's happening in the market environment? In Zoom2u and Locate2u, we're not seeing any slowdown at all. And we're continuing to see lots of inquiries that are coming through, both in Australia and also the US and other markets, and continue to see lots of opportunity. And there's a number of large enterprise deals as well as small deals. And the one thing that we're doing particularly on Locate to You is that we're not just focused on enterprise deals. Enterprise deals take many months to convert. We want to have a mixture of enterprise, but also the very repeatable small businesses that are dealing directly with a business owner, and you can actually go through that process of doing a demonstration and do a closing of that deal in that one sales call. And so it's those deals are really great, where we can get lots of those deals happening on a quarterly basis.
How's the rollout to Bunnings tracking? Please, can you give some colour on stores and incremental adds to platform revenue?
Yeah, so Bunnings is doing really well. I've got to be a little bit careful around releasing any sort of confidential information from a Bunnings point of view, but we're seeing that we'll ultimately be across 150 stores. We're actively adding new stores every single week. And we're starting to see volumes really starting to pick up in that. And I think in this next quarter, we'll be able to release sort of more information specifically around sort of the types of revenue that we've received from Bunnings over the next quarter. But certainly what we saw in the previous quarter, there was very little revenue that we received from it, and now we're definitely starting to see increased revenue coming from Bunnings.
Our next question is Locate to You actively looking at integration with Xero and other accounting packages for lead inventory systems?
Yeah, so we definitely see integrations as going to be a key part of our growth strategy. These integrations will allow us to get access to customer bases. Shopify was the first one that we sort of released in the previous quarter, and that was a really important one. What we'll probably focus on now is doing other e-commerce integrations. Once we've got invoicing released, then we will definitely look to integrate with the likes of Xero and QuickBooks. QuickBooks particularly for the US market. And we'll continue to sort of evolve the different types of integrations we're looking at into the future.
Great. Next question is, can you give any colour on Locate to You for the financial year 23?
I'm just wondering what they mean.
Just in terms of growth or outlook, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, without giving necessarily forecasts, what you've seen, I guess, in that previous graph there, you saw growth coming through every single quarter, and the great thing about Locate to You is that once you sign that customer, they become very sticky, and the product becomes part of their business. So making sure that they actually go through the onboarding process is key, and they get adoption. And if they get adoption, those customers are going to stick. And so I would expect that we're going to continue to keep on adding new customers in the coming months, and you'll definitely see revenue growth coming off the back of that.
Just add to that, Steve, that a number of our sales reps are relatively new. I talked about 17 sales reps, so they do take a little while to become productive. So
correct.
Once they become productive, we should see that growth hopefully continue.
There's a question on the market. So question is, update on your thoughts on Milk Run, Needly, Volley, etc., and those who have closed, and Metro 60.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned in my, in the last quarterly update, my prediction was that some of these businesses would likely die, and that's definitely happened. And I think what's really important with any business is that your unit economics make sense. You have to make money at a gross profit level. Yes, you can lose money by spending money on marketing and establishing your business, but the unit economics has to make sense, and you have to be able to make money. And these businesses, I don't know, they can't make money. It's very hard for them. If you look at the basics of, on average, a driver needs to be earning $30 an hour. And then you divide that by the number of deliveries that they need to do, charging $5 a delivery. That's a significant number of deliveries that need to occur in that hour. And it's physically impossible to do those numbers of deliveries in that time period. And so, as a consumer, these are great services. Venture capitalists are paying for us to order groceries, and let's keep on ordering from them while we can, and we're getting this free service essentially. But I don't see these things continuing into the future, and particularly in markets where it's much more difficult to raise capital. And so I think we'll see more of these businesses closing down or changing their delivery method. Woolworths has come out and offered a 1 hour delivery. I think that's quite smart. There's more ability to actually do more deliveries in that time period. Doing a 10-minute delivery, it's very difficult to make money. In terms of it's not an area of our focus. Is focusing on that type of business. I think it's very hard to make money in the grocery delivery side of things. I much rather focus on e-commerce, where you're delivering parcels. A driver can turn up to a facility and pick up 60 parcels in one go, optimize that route, be a lot more efficient for that driver, and ability to make a lot more money by doing that. And that's where we'll continue to focus our efforts in doing that, and not in really tight time window deliveries.
Thanks, Steve. We've got a couple more questions here. The next is, acquisition of competitors or complementary businesses in the pipeline?
Yeah, look, I mean, we continue to look at lots of businesses, whether they're competitors or whether they're complementary, and we'll continue to sort of assess, what makes sense. I think there will be more opportunity for us to do those types of things in the months ahead, as small businesses don't have the capital, and we've got the ability to raise capital in the public markets. So I think, we're in a strong position to be able to do that into the future, where it makes sense.
Next question is, what's the marketing strategy and brand build for the next quarter and beyond? Is it all out of home, or will you start adding radio and TV? Yeah,
so for Zoom2u, one of the great things that we've done around this business, and this is something that's happened over the last 7 or 8 years, is that we've built a very strong search optimization inquiries that come through. And so if you go to Google and you do a search for same-day courier, express courier, any of those interstate couriers, you will find Zoom2u. You'll find Zoom2u under the name Zoom2u, but there's also a number of other websites that we actually operate under. So samedayexpress.com.au is one of our brands. Urgent Express Courier is another one of our brands. And even on that front page of Google, you will see us listed many different times. And for Zoom2u, that's our key focus. If you're interested in finding a courier and you're going to Google, you'll find us. I don't expect that we would continue to spend money in radio, TV, and that sort of stuff from a Zoom2u point of view, because I think we can be very targeted and spend our money very carefully on digital side of things. And yeah, so we're going to be very focused on spending money digitally and making sure that we're getting a return on investment, and it's very hard to do in sort of radio ads and TV and the likes.
Thanks, Steve. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you all for your attendance, and have a great day.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike, and thanks everyone for joining today. It's great to give you an update, and look forward to speaking in our next update.
Thank you all.